Thanks for joining us on the CETO Aftershow. I'm here with Dan Benson from Power Pole. We're here to talk about the Cortez area, Cortez, Florida, and the fishing that went on there during this show. And the weather. Lord knows the weather. Dan, what was going on there?
I don't know. I always pull out my app, try and get a game plan. And the first thing in the morning and that evening, we were like, should we even go? Should we try this? It's supposed to blow 20 or 30. The film crew's calling. You sure you guys want to pull this off? And we said, you're here from Cedar Key. If it's blowing, we're going. Let's try.
I'm telling you, it's exactly what you ain't lying. We were like, all of us questioning, and you were over there going, hey guys, here's the bottom line. Them snook, they love it when it's saucy. They love it when it's mixed up. It might help us. I got a good feeling. That's what you said. You was like, I got a good feeling. And I was like, guys, Dan's got a good feeling. Let's go.
That's funny because then we got out there and we were nervous. I mean, we fished all morning. The whole west side of the shoreline was pretty much useless. And by about 11:30, we looked at each other and said, we need to just go grab lunch. We know the wind's maybe going to back off to 20 mile an hour.
Oh, man.
And some cloud cover was going to come in along with the tide, which will let us get closer to the bushes and hide from that wind. So I'm glad we made the call to get lunch, kind of regroup, because the whole morning was tough.
The only thing consistent about the weather pattern was it was inconsistent.
Yes.
That was about it. I mean, it was literally changing before our eyes all day long. And, actually, phenomenally, the weatherman was pretty spot on. I mean, for a change. He was like, look, expect this, and he really, truly, for once, thank goodness, he was right on the money with it. It really did. And going in and getting that break and just, you know what I mean? Just kind of lowering your shoulders a little and taking a deep breath and getting a little sandwich and coming back out and getting a fresh start was the biggest thing that helped us. We were making casts. We were throwing the bait. Didn't matter what bait it was. Watching it go splash and then watching it go just skip about 30, 40 feet to the left. I mean...
Yes, I haven't experienced that often. When you land it here and the wind just skips your spoon across the water and you can't let enough line off the bail for it to get down.
Yeah, the whole drop the rod tip, all of that stuff, none of it worked. It didn't matter. It was going to like a skipping rock. It didn't matter what you did. So that was definitely when we had that. You remember we had that group of fish as we was kind of pulling down the what would be the north end of that shore. We coming off the point, and we were thinking, hoping. There was going to be something come through there, and there was. But the ripple and all the motion in the ocean, so to speak, that was going on made it impossible, along with the fact that you couldn't even get a 20-foot radius pinpointed cast in. So even if you did see them and they were there, you couldn't get them with anything. It was just a lose-lose situation. So the lunch was a great idea, by the way.
Yes, I'll take that any day.
And I wasn't hard to talk into. Yeah, Danny, you want to go get a grouper sandwich? I said, yeah. Yeah. So that was key, And then, like you said, it was just like the app that we were looking at there and checking out. It was just like it said. We were gone roughly. It was real busy when we got there, so we were probably gone a solid hour and a half.
Yes.
Something to that nature. Come back, and don't get me wrong, the wind didn't stop, but something changed there, and it was helpful. And it was more water, it was more bait, and obviously there was more predators. So our targeted species did pull up into the zones close to the mangroves where we could really get close and block the wind better. We didn't have to be so far out because of the tide. That was our moment of change there.
Yeah, and it kind of allowed us, we went out in the morning not knowing what to expect, and we went right to the juice, and the wind blew us through really quick.
Yeah.
Where in the afternoon we said, all right, we're going to have to grind it out, make long casts. Instead of going to the juice, we started all the way at the far south end of Longbar, and we were going to drift the entire length of that shoreline. It's a south to north shoreline with a hard east wind. So we're just going to tuck up against the bushes and drift this whole shoreline, and we're just going to throw and throw and throw. And after about 4 fish, we kind of figured out what was going on.
That's right. Yep, that's right. That chartreuse color really got us going. And I remember you saying, we're gonna throw them something they possibly didn't see the last few days, or maybe even longer. Hopefully, you kind of went that route there, which I think that like I say, everything changed then. You get a little bit of pep in your step. You've gotten a few fish caught. You've developed a trend, even though it's a small one. It's still a trend, and that is key when you're dealing with all of those elements and everything that's going on in front of you. If you can develop some sort of a trend, even if it's a small one, it's a start.
It is. And what I noticed, that put all the keys together was when we saw the mullet, eventually the mullet were jumping, that turned out to be the mullet were on the hard bottom. The redfish were hanging on the hard bottom, so we could power pull down, bomb those spoons into the mullet, catch a couple fish. We lift the power pulls up, scoot another 20 feet, catch more fish, and we could just cruise down the bank with the trolling motor, find more mullet, find more hard bottom, and just keep reproducing that pattern up the entire shoreline. It ended up being a really fun day.
Absolutely. And as you were sitting there talking and describing just then, I remember in that little, if I'm not mistaken, right there in that little zone that we're talking about right now, we had the power pole move on, controlling us in that breeze against there. We had it locked in place, doing what it does. And I'll be darned if you didn't have a snook strike 5 feet from the prop.
Yes, I haven't had that happen in years.
Unbelievable.
But the trolling motor's so quiet.
I didn't even know it was there. Didn't know we was there. I mean, we in that same time frame. I remember you were up in the drive station there in the tower, and you were trying to look ahead to get us some hints. And I was down on the bow there, for a longer cast. We were just talking and going through the motion. And I remember thinking at the water and just looking at it and going, man, it's shallow in here. Like, is it shallow or is it just that clean? So I remember asking you, Dan, up there, is the water this shallow or is it just clean? And you literally said, I was just thinking the same thing, that I can't believe this deck cat is in here at 27 feet. So I couldn't help it. I went and got my check-it stick, flipped it around, put the 0 on the bottom, and it was 12 inches.
12 inches of hard bottom, too. And we were floating without touching the bottom or without making any noise. I was shocked.
And shortly after that, we weren't 2 casts after checking that bottom and going through that little combo. It wasn't 2 casts later that snook did that. You come down out of it. I was like, okay. In the fishing man's world, that just happened. In 12 to 15 inches of water in a 27-foot deck cat with a trolling motor going, a snook bit 5 foot off the prop.
Wow.
Exactly.
In a heavily fished area that typically these fish have to be tricked with live bait.
Yeah.
I mean, you even at the end of the day when that misty rain came out, pulled out the top water.
I did.
And we're getting snook to just smash the top water.
I did, yeah. We never got. We were, my mindset there was, we had caught so many fish at that point. We was in a good place. You know what I mean? We was getting kind of cocky, even. You know what I mean? We might have been like, hey, we can. Ain't no wind gonna hold us back. We're gonna make this happen. So we started slinging for the fence. We was like, we need a big one. Yep. So that was where my mind went with that. I wanted to see what that top water plug would produce in a big one. We had seen a couple of fish, and we actually had a couple pull off. I think. I know for one, I remember pulling off. But that was where my mind was at. I thought, man, if I can just draw one of these big ones that we're getting a glimpse at every once in a while, up to this plug in this gummy condition, that'd be great. That was all I was thinking about. It didn't pull a big one, but it did pull many numbers. I mean, it did work. Right on against the roots, click, clack, click, clack. It wasn't 3 feet away. There it was. I mean, just like it should have been. We had literally went from, guys, I don't know if this is going to work. This is just horrible conditions. Everything is striking against us. This is probably a bad idea. To, this is a bad idea. Let's go get a sandwich. To coming back out and going, I told y'all this is a good idea.
It's amazing what time, a little less wind, 8 more inches of water can do. We didn't give up. We kept fishing and just had a good day. I mean, I did not think that was going to happen after the morning.
Once we got there and we got the actual, it's really easy to sit in a truck on the telephone with the doors closed and the air conditioning on and go, hey, yeah, the weather's not bad. I mean, it's bad, but we can do this. But then once you get on the bow and you're out there in it, things start to change a little bit and you start questioning your sanity I was. I mean,
yes.
So, but I tell you, going back to, so not only did once we come back from lunch did things really start to come into place, but Dan, we caught fish on a spoon, the chartreuse, We caught fish on a jig. We went to a jig at one time, just a simple standard jig and gulp.
Yep.
With that, we caught fish on that. We threw paddle tails at one point. We caught. You had that one phenomenal redfish that blowed in that school literally come out of nowhere on us. Something spooked them, and you made the absolute perfect cast in crappy conditions, and you weren't there 2 seconds. And
Well, what's even crazy about that, because I know you kept repeating it, is we were going down the bank with the trolling motor, and that school of fish snuck up behind us,
sure
past the boat, and I look to the left, and I see them kind of hook a left and just bomb that spoon at them.
Yeah.
So they were coming by without knowing we were there in a 27-foot boat in shallow water with the trolling motor going, and we caught those fish as they hooked a left to leave.
Folks are going to learn this, and it's it's new, and I'm blessed that I had a chance to see it with my own eyes and actually use it. Folks in time, they're going to figure out that thing's a straight up cheat code. It's literally going to turn an okay fisherman into a great fisherman, because that fisherman is now quiet.
Yes.
He is now quiet. He has the quiet ability to stop and the quiet ability to move. And it's going to take that guy that's just okay and turn him great. They're going to learn this the hard way. In time they're going to figure it out, and they're going to get there. But we've seen it several times. We saw it several times. We saw it happen, and it wasn't luck. We were quiet, and they didn't know we were there. It's unbelievable.
It brings me back to fishing 20 years ago when I grew up fishing Tampa Bay. You could have your trolling motor on, and I could catch snook and redfish.
Mm-hmm.
The past 10 years, they've gotten highly educated, and you have to turn the trolling motor off, glide into them, power pull down, and really stalk these fish.
Right.
But now it kind of reminds me of growing up, where I can keep that trolling motor on, deadly silent, hook a fish, put the poles down. I mean, it's truly changing the way we're fishing.
It is. It is. I don't even think I'd go to work if my power poles weren't working or something weird happened. I'd just probably just call out. If I'd call out sick, I'd come up with something. But it would be because my poles aren't working. I'm spoiled. I mean, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna go to work without them. That might sound bad, but I mean,
it's good to hear that, and we're always here if anything were to go wrong.
Oh,
with them.
yeah, absolutely.
When you power pull down, you get in that zone, you hook a fish, power pull down, and catch 10 more fish.
Yeah.
If you drifted through that spot, you're going to ruin a lot of spots throughout the day.
Mm-hmm.
Where just getting used to putting your power pull down and catching multiple fish, making your clients happy, or making a TV show,
Oh, yeah.
It truly is a tool that we've all gotten used to.
Or if you might just be out there with your wife fishing or something one day, and happy wife, happy life. That's the whole thing. You could, babe, I told you it was a great purchase. See what you did. You're happy. Hey, every little angle we can get. Yeah, it was a great day. It really was one that we like I said, I think taking a step away and going and getting lunch really revived us. I think going forward, I'd like to, the biggest thing I'd like to tell everybody, is grinding. I mean, we didn't give up. We obviously we were there. We needed our footage. We needed to do what we had to do, and that was that. Would we have done that had we just been two boys just going out and fishing? I'm not sure on that. I don't know about that. Maybe we would have gotten a sandwich and then went home. I don't know. But I'm very glad that we did not do that, and I'm very glad that we went ahead with the plan. I don't know really what we would have done in that zone to do any better. I mean, I mean, under the circumstances, we did pretty darn good. But if for the folks at home, if you're planning any trips towards Cortez and that whole scene in general, or Tampa Bay period, we really, like you said earlier, you mentioned we found the hard bottom. We hung around the hard bottom. We worked it slowly. We swapped baits a lot,
Yep.
Probably 8 or 9. We had about 3 or 4 that worked, but we tried some other ones that didn't. We got around fish a couple of times, so that trend worked. If the weather wasn't so crazy, it would have been nice to try some other areas, some other circumstances, to maybe pull a big fish, or more, obviously.
Yes.
A big fish or 10. That's what we always like to say. You'll catch a big fish or 10. So what would you think? So like, say the wind was the same direction, but a lot less. What?
I think it would have opened it up. We were tucked on that north to south shoreline on the far east side of Sarasota Bay. And you can look at all the islands, and the closer you get to the passes, it's coming to summertime. So those big snook are moving to the pass.
Mm-hmm.
So if we went over to try to fish those shorelines, it could have been 2 to 3 foot chop and absolutely unfishable, or the waves would have been pushing in those mangroves so much those fish will back off and go hunker down. So it would have opened up more areas for us to really get a big snook coming out of winter.
Yeah.
Which I wanted to do that so bad. I wanted to throw a big swim bait or a big spoon and hook just a big snook. But
how many times did we talk about it? Because you could see some of the areas, and we were just looking over there and going, that looks rough. I mean, there's more white than green over there, you know, from the white with the white cap. So we talked about it, but we didn't push the limits on it. You know, we there was some things there that would have definitely not went well if we would have tried. Most likely, it was just that bad. So.
Yeah.
But it would have been nice. So, you know, going forward, that's good knowledge and good info for folks to try to use there. You know, coming out of the winter like that, as in fish he's talking about, are pushing over to the passes and to the deeper mangroves and towards the beaches and things of that nature. That's a good trend to do if you're looking to fish the area. Always, like we had mentioned earlier, you know, the hard bottom. Find your hard bottom. Find your mullet.
The mullet.
Wow. Once we found that, we had 2 groups of mullet 2 different times, I remember. Once we found them where them dudes were just packed in tight, the redfish were right there. And we even got a few snook too. But so those are your 2 items that, you know, a lot of times it's the same place. But we're talking Cortez right now. That was what helped us.
Yeah. Well, and I appreciate you inviting me, because I haven't been down there in 15 years since we used to have to fish there for the redfish tournaments. So going back and fishing the same area that was always productive and seeing it's still good.
Yeah.
You know, since our show, I've been saying, I want to go down. I want to take some of the guys from work down there, because it was that good on a hard day.
Yeah. So it's hard to not get excited what you could do if it ain't all angry. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Mother Nature's a little more settled down. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree. We may have to do that. We may have to visit that one day.
Yes.
We have to think about that. We'll have to look at some schedules. That sounds like a good idea. Yeah. It would be nice to see what we can compare. You know what I mean? We literally can fish the exact same thing minus the weather pattern.
Yes.
It would be cool to see what transpires. Well, guys, we appreciate you tuning in to the CTO After Show. Again, Dan Benson from Power Pole. We utilized the trolling motor, the new trolling motor move. It is phenomenal. I'm literally stuck right there. That's the best way I know how to describe it. I don't know how well we would have done without it, with all the elements. So we appreciate you joining us. Hopefully you picked up some tips and some things that might help you around Cortez, Florida, or anywhere else that's similar. Hopefully they help you out going forward. We appreciate y'all tuning in.